these apps that were sold to users as, hey, come build your wealth, come buy stocks, like we're democratizing finance, and they're just calling gambling finance now. They did democratize finance. And then they realized, well, now that we've democratized finance and we have all this distribution, we can also democratize gambling. We're seeing these financial services companies sell a bunch of products that they would never want their family to be using. And that's what I take issue with. I'm Alex Leishman. I'm the founder of River. We started the company 7 years ago, and we make it easy to buy, sell, and use Bitcoin for people and businesses in the United States. At the same time that the fintech industry was born out of the financial crisis, so was Bitcoin. Fintech was a huge innovation for the United States. Came out of Silicon Valley after the financial crisis. The tech industry realized they could build financial apps a lot better than Wall Street, especially financial apps targeted at consumers. And they were right. We had Robinhood, made it really easy to buy stocks. We had Coinbase, make it really easy to buy Bitcoin, this new digital gold. What we've seen over recent years is these companies have started to stray into offering products that look more like gambling, and they're pitching them as products that are good for investors. The real issue here is that you have these services that had legitimate products that were helping people build wealth, and they're now starting to sell them products that extract wealth. If you open Robinhood today or Coinbase, you get sold bet on the Super Bowl, bet on March Madness. And this is the same app that's pitching you, hey, you should buy Bitcoin or buy Apple shares to build your wealth long term. They're also telling you to bet on basketball games, which everyone knows is not a generally wealth building activity. I actually think prediction markets are sort of fundamentally interesting. But what's happened recently has been that prediction markets have realized that they could include sports and get around state gambling laws and just sell sports betting to all of the United States without being subject to any of the laws around gambling. Their argument is now this is no longer legally gambling. This is a commodity trading product regulated by the CFTC. It's interesting. It's different. I don't think it belongs in financial services apps. Silicon Valley and the fintech industry should hold itself to a higher standard, because if they don't, the political winds will shift and it will come for us. It's not going to take society that long to realize, hey, like these fintechs are just extracting wealth from retail investors and convincing them otherwise. The apps know that their users are going to net lose money on this because they're really in the business of selling their users ignorant trades to the sharks on Wall Street. Right? These markets aren't interesting to Wall Street if it's Wall Street trading against themselves. Jane Street doesn't want to trade against Citadel. Jane Street wants to trade against you. Any financial institution, they're smart people. You can only convince yourself so long that you're doing a good thing when you're not, right? That starts to chip away at the company, at the culture, at the soul. And if you focus on only ever offering things that are good for people, I think that's net long-term good for a company. That said, these companies are making tons of money offering these gambling products. And so the temptation is always going to be there economically. And I'm not calling for heavy-handed regulations or restrictions, but I am calling for a little bit of self-reflection from the people running these companies to be honest about what they're really doing, and the people working there, at least be honest with yourself about what you're really doing. I'm not against gambling, but I'm against selling gambling disguised as a financial product you should be using if you're trying to grow your wealth. I have no problem with casinos. I like to play a roulette game here and there, but I don't want to walk in my bank and have a roulette table in my bank branch. The Bitcoin white paper was launched 6 weeks after the fall of Lehman Brothers. And since then, Bitcoin has been quietly growing, building its network effect, building wealth for anyone who's held it, and improving a lot of lives. And I think it's going to continue to do that. And that's why we built River around this asset. Bitcoin is trustless, and it's important for that to be the case. But it's also important that if you want to live in a civilization, institutions in that civilization have to be trustworthy. Bitcoin doesn't change the world in a way that you just never trust any institution ever again. What it does is it gives you an option to opt out of trusting any institution if you don't want to. And what that does is makes the institutions more trustworthy, right? If I'm a financial institution and I know my clients can really easily opt out completely of the financial system, then I'm going to behave in a way that keeps me more honest. And I think that's the power of Bitcoin, is it's a check on what institutions can get away with.